What is up, everybody? Gordon and I are back for episode number 5 of the Roundtable. We apologize for missing you guys last week. It was kind of a crazy busy week here in the world for everybody, and we are excited to come back and give you guys some sports.
I'm excited to get back to it. Lead them off, Nathaniel.
We had an exciting week. We officially have a start date and some playoff requirements in the NBA. July 31st in Orlando, Florida, the NBA will resume with an 8-game regular season leading into the playoffs. I'm excited. I think it's going to be one of the most interesting playoffs we've ever had in sports, in any sport. And I think you're just as excited as me to see if our Lakers can take it all the way and win the championship.
Yeah, I definitely would describe it as the COVID Cup 2020. Maybe not necessarily NBA playoffs, but it's going to get to – we're going to have a champion of the NBA season regardless. We got 22 teams. Let's put them in battle in Orlando and see what happens.
So it's crazy. For those of you who don't know the scenario here in the NBA, they are bringing back 22 teams to compete, and – some of which are in contention and already in the playoffs, have their playoff spot pretty much locked. Some of which are in the 8, 9, 10, 11 seed, give or take within 3 to 4 games of that final spot. And they want to give them a chance to see if they can make that 8 seed to get into the playoffs. And the interesting thing is that they have not released the schedule yet, which I think we'll see soon. But the weird thing is that rumor, or actually the NBA said, if the teams who are not in the 8th spot are within 3 games or less, 4 games or less of that 8th spot, they get a play-in game. And if they're above that, then they're automatically out. There is no playoff game. So my question for you would be, what happens if they all split season series or split the last regular season games and they're all within 4 games? We gonna have like multiple play-in games then?
Yeah, I guess if it would come down to it, if all of them made it, maybe there'd be like a bracket for the play-in games. Like I don't exactly sure how that would work, but there's definitely some room for some wonky shit to happen. So.
It's interesting because so in the East we have Washington. That's the extra team that was added for the East, and they're gonna fight with Brooklyn and Orlando. They're about 6 games out, but as we said, there are 8 games to be played. So hypothetically, they could get in, and it's gonna be weird to see if all of those teams maybe end up with the same record or the tiebreak. It's going to be super weird in the Eastern Conference there. The Western Conference, though, 8, 9, 10, 11 are all separated within 3 games. 9, 10, 11 are separated within 1 game. So do you think that they make the schedule where those teams end up playing each other to try and get rid of parity in that sense? Because it's such a weird vibe. Like, how is it going to be fair if Sacramento has to play the Lakers, but New Orleans only has to play like Dallas and Memphis? You know what I mean?
It is, yeah. I do know what you mean, where the season, how they're going to actually schedule who against who, I'm not sure. But I will say this, if I was like the 11th seed, I would want to play the Lakers because they know they've got their situation locked up. They're just trying to warm up, get ready for the playoffs. I would rather play them than a competitor going into
that sense of urgency necessarily isn't there.
Precisely.
It's... to me, it's almost like, do you maybe take the top 4 teams in each conference and have them play 6 games where they can just kind of get it under their belt, like the East plays the West, and then you have maybe, I'm looking at it, probably like 6 through 11 in the West play those last few teams in the East to kind of make it a little bit more competitive and kind of figure out what they're going to do with the standings there, because I see a huge problem of what could happen in the Western Conference, because realistically speaking, you could end up with I mean, as weird as it sounds, there are 40 wins at the 5 seed. They could lose a lot of games. They could lose almost all the games, and they could be super close. And then you have way more teams dealing with this play-in scenario than the NBA probably expected.
Yeah, I think the playoff scenario, especially in the West, the play-in scenario is going to be multiple tiered because like you said, there's like 3 or 4 teams all within, 3 games of each other. Right now, as it stands, there's already like 4-team play-in brackets.
Right, exactly. Right now, if it ended, Sacramento, New Orleans, Portland, and Memphis would all have play-in scenarios
For one
for one spot.
One spot, yeah.
So I don't know if then they would do 8 versus 11, 9 versus 10, and then the winners play each other and whatnot, or how the tiebreakers work. So the NBA is definitely going to have to come out and figure out what they're going to do in that scenario, and it'll be interesting to see how fair these regular season seeding games end up being for these NBA teams.
Yeah, the schedule for the regular season is just as important almost as how the brackets are going to be. So we're going to see what happens, hopefully get a little bit more information, especially in terms of the home court advantage side. I heard that's very gimmicky. So we're hoping for some more information here.
That too, and the last piece that we will talk about in the NBA is this season is supposed to go until October.
Ooh.
And for those of you that are NBA fanatics, you know that October is generally when the season starts. And also with the Olympics being pushed back, who really knows what's going to happen next year in regards to when the season would start and end, and if NBA players would go play in the Summer Olympics, which they have seemingly for a very, very long time. So there's a lot of moving parts here. I think everybody's excited and anxious to see, and hopefully we get some more information and get excited here in the next month for some playoff basketball. In other news this week, the main topic besides the NBA is the MLB and how far apart the players and the owners are in getting an MLB season started. We have seen so many different proposals sent back and forth, and it is so far apart that I'm starting to think we won't have a baseball season.
That's the way it's looking like it's going to be, especially after that whole fiasco with the poll proposal, the 50-50 split. This was now weeks ago, but still, they seem to be even farther apart from that point, and that was weeks ago. And right now, it's definitely in danger of this season not happening for the MLB.
So an update in regards to those proposals, the players want to play the most amount of games they can because seemingly they don't get paid more. They obviously they want to play. I mean, they have not played since spring training was dismissed because of Corona, and they have wanted to play an 82-game schedule. They even increased it to want to play a 114-game schedule. I mean, they have agreed to multiple different proposals that they've either been given or drew up themselves, and the owners keep coming back saying no because they're worried about money. And I understand where they're coming from because they will not have fans, at least as of right now, and they'll lose revenue in regards to that. But the owners now come back and they're saying they want a 40 to 60 game season, and at that point I think it's a waste.
Yeah, that's way too short. And in regards to revenue generation from outside of TV deals, merchandise will lead that. I'm not sure what else will. No tickets.
I'm confused because they keep saying, well, we're not going to make money, and if you're not going to have fans, your TV ratings are going to go up, and you have TV contracts. So maybe you were to work a deal out there to make a little bit more money because viewership would go up. I mean, there's so many different ways that I feel like the owners can make money, and we all know the owners have money already, whether they're big market, small market, they have the money, and they're going to have to pay their players less. How much that is going to depend on how many games they play. I was very happy with the 82-game 50-50 split, which the players were. Also, they came out and said, yo, let's go, we're ready. We'll have spring training in June, which not going to happen right now. And we'll get started and start playing in July and go from July, which would seemingly be after the All-Star break. And they would have a normal season. They'd go into the playoffs at the same time and play. And now we're just kind of all over the place. So, it's also coming to the point as a Dodger fan, and you know this just as well as I do, if they don't play this year, the Dodgers lose a guy like Mookie. Teams lose years of contracts because of this.
Yeah, it's going to affect, I mean, obviously financially everybody, but in regards to, the general management of the team and the team building aspect, I'm interested to see if they're going to count, this year towards people's contracts.
They
Obviously,
supposedly said they were.
yeah, especially when it gets to the money, you didn't pay me for this year that I did, even though nobody got paid. Is it still count? Does the season still count? I'm very interested to see what are the ramifications of this on the team building side, and especially just general progressiveness by the MLB moving forward. Every other league out there has come up with at least some sort of adaptation where they can play the game.
Exactly.
MLB has the owners or the players or whoever is the one not agreeing or helping the situation. They're going to threaten and they're going to cancel this season because they just don't understand that it doesn't matter how it gets done. Just get the game done. Just get the deal done so you can play. That's the only thing that matters.
And I don't think the owners realize that if they don't play or the less games they have, it's going to hurt them even more than what they think based on their salaries. So it's very bizarre. And since the pandemic hit, I've been very much pro, let's get them on the field, let's play for every sport. No matter how it is, we got to get something, right? For those of you who are attacking players in the MLB saying they're greedy, they should just take the deal, go play, we're suffering, they're suffering, whatnot. I need you all to understand that these players are not taking certain pay cuts because they've earned the money. They also want to go out and play the most amount of games. There were certain players who went out and expressed what was happening. They weren't trying to say, we deserved more money. Prime example was Max Scherzer. He went out and it was explaining that the players had agreed to 50-50 split way back when and what has happened, and that it's hard to have talks right now because of the current circumstances. And people were attacking them saying, you're selfish, you're not taking more money, you would never last, I can't believe you're doing this. Look, these players have earned the right to make this money. You do not have the right to say that they shouldn't fight for the money that they deserve.
I agree. It just because the value is more doesn't mean that they should take a proportion that a regular, old 40,000-year-old or 30,000-year salary wouldn't take it. If you're losing half your money, you're losing half your money, no matter what the total number is.
Right. You earn that amount of money. So these players are fighting for their right just as much as they want to go out there and play. So their pay cut may not seem as much, but that's because they're trying to go out there and play more games because they love the game and because they want to give you more games as a viewer. So we need to understand where these players are coming from, and I think we can all agree that the owners are the issue here.
Yeah, they usually always are, and I think most people. It's weird because public opinion does say that the public sides with the owners, but I have yet to meet somebody in person who says, "Oh, the players are the problem." So, owners are the problem. All right, and that's going to wrap up our roundtable for today. Thank you guys for tuning in today. We got some more NFL content dropping this week. We have another roundtable next week with some more new guests. Look out for all that new type of content. And you know what? Thank you for spending your time watching our videos.
MLB.com.